Before the reign of Zeus and the gods of Olympus, there were older powers, forces of chaos, creation, and destruction locked in cosmic struggle. Titans, giants, and primordial beings shaped the universe long before the Olympians claimed the throne. Their wars shook heaven, earth, and the underworld, leaving behind scars and myths that still echo through history. In this video, we journey back to the dawn of time, where gods were not yet rulers, but warriors fighting for existence itself. This is the untold saga before Olympus, the Primordial Wars. When we think of Greek mythology, most of us picture Zeus hurling lightning bolts, Athena standing tall in wisdom, or Poseidon ruling the seas with his mighty trident. The Olympian gods feel like the center of the Greek mythic universe. Yet their story was not the beginning. It was the result of an ancient struggle, a chain of wars fought long before Olympus rose to power. These were the Primordial Wars, a series of cosmic battles between older, darker forces and the younger gods who would eventually shape the world as we know it. To understand these wars is to journey back to the very dawn of creation, when chaos itself was alive, when gods were born from raw elements, and when power was constantly challenged, torn down, and reborn. The dawn of chaos. According to Hesiod's Theogony, the world began not with light, nor with order, but with chaos. Chaos was not simply nothingness, as we imagine it today, but a vast yawning gap, a limitless void that was both everything and nothing. Out of chaos emerged the first primordial beings. Gaia, Earth, the great mother who became the foundation of all life. Tartarus, the abyssal pit beneath the earth, destined to become a prison for gods and monsters. Eros, love/desire, the force of attraction and creation, binding existence together. Nyx, night, and Erebus, darkness, born of the shadowed depths. The cosmos was not born in peace, but in division and conflict. Each primordial represented a raw, unshaped element of reality. Earth, abyss, darkness, desire. In this earliest age, the world itself was alive, but unstable, waiting for structure. Gaia, the earth, soon gave birth to Uranus, sky, and their union laid the groundwork for the first divine dynasty. Yet even at the dawn of this new order, strife was inevitable. The first war, Uranus and the Titans. When Gaia and Uranus united, they produced a generation of mighty beings known as the Titans. There were 12, 6 male and 6 female, each representing cosmic powers such as Oceanus, the river encircling the world, Hyperion light, and Cronus time. But Uranus, fearful of his own children, became a tyrant. He despised the monstrous offspring of Gaia, the one-eyed Cyclopes and the 100-handed Cenomanes, and imprisoned them deep within her womb, locking them in Tartarus. Gaia, in agony, conspired with her Titan children. Only Cronus, the youngest and most cunning, dared to act. Armed with a sickle fashioned by Gaia, Cronus ambushed Uranus, castrated him, and cast his body away. From the blood of Uranus sprang the Furies, giants, and nymphs. From his severed genitals, cast into the sea, arose Aphrodite, goddess of love. Thus began the first great war of succession, the overthrow of Uranus by his son Cronus. But as with all victories in Greek myth, it carried a curse. Uranus, before falling, prophesied that Cronus too would be overthrown by his own child. The second war, Cronus and the Olympians. Cronus now ruled as the leader of the Titans, presiding over what later myths called the Golden Age. Yet his reign was haunted by paranoia. Remembering his father's prophecy, Cronus devoured each of his children at birth: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. Only the sixth, Zeus, was saved when his mother Rhea tricked Cronus by giving him a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes. Zeus was hidden in a cave on Crete, nourished by the god Amalthea and protected by the Curetes, warriors who drowned out his cries with clashing shields. As he grew, Zeus plotted rebellion. With the help of Metis, the goddess of wisdom, he tricked Cronus into vomiting up his siblings. United, the 6 children of Cronus, Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Demeter, and Hestia, rose up against the Titans. This was the Titanomachy, the great war between the Titans and the Olympians. The battle raged for 10 years, shaking the earth and sky. At first, the Titans had the upper hand. But Gaia counseled Zeus to seek the aid of the Cyclopes and Centimanes, whom Cronus had imprisoned. Freed from Tartarus, the Cyclopes forged weapons for the Olympians. The thunderbolt for Zeus, the trident for Poseidon, the helm of invisibility for Hades. With these divine weapons and the brute strength of the 100-handed giants, the Olympians triumphed. The Titans were defeated, and most were cast into Tartarus, bound in chains under the watch of the Centimanes. Only a few, such as Oceanus, were spared. Thus ended the second great Primordial War, the rise of Olympus over the Titans. Yet peace was still far away. The third war, the giants' revolt. Though the Olympians now ruled, Gaia had not forgotten the fate of her children, the Titans. In her grief and rage, she gave birth to another race, the giants. These towering beings, born from the blood of Uranus and the earth, were destined to challenge Zeus and the Olympians. The war that followed was called the Gigantomachy. Unlike the Titanomachy, this was not only a struggle among gods, but also a clash between cosmic order and chaotic rebellion. The giants, led by Alcyoneus and Porphyrion, rose from the earth and hurled mountains at the sky. An oracle declared that the Olympians could not win without the aid of a mortal. Thus, Zeus called upon his son Hercules. Together, the gods and Heracles battled the giants across the earth. Dionysus, Athena, and Artemis fought bravely. Zeus unleashed his thunderbolts, and Heracles struck down the giants with his arrows. Once again, the Olympians prevailed. The giants were slain, and their bodies buried beneath volcanoes, their fiery rage believed to erupt as molten lava. The fourth war, Typhon, last of the monsters. Even after the defeat of the Titans and giants, one final challenger arose, the most terrifying of all, Typhon. Typhon was the monstrous child of Gaia and Tartarus, a towering creature with 100 dragon heads, eyes that shot fire, and a voice that roared like beasts and gods combined. He was so vast that his wings stretched across the sky. When Typhon attacked Olympus, the gods were seized with terror and fled to Egypt, disguising themselves as animals. Only Zeus stood his ground. The battle was apocalyptic. Zeus hurled thunderbolt after thunderbolt, but Typhon overwhelmed him, tearing the sinews from his body and hiding them away. For a time, the monster reigned supreme. Yet Hermes and Pan recovered Zeus's sinews and restored his strength. Reinvigorated, Zeus unleashed his fury, burying Typhon beneath Mount Etna, where his rage still trembles the earth as volcanic fire. With Typhon's defeat, the Primordial Wars came to an end. The Olympians were now the undisputed rulers of the cosmos. The meaning behind the myths. The stories of the Primordial Wars are more than just thrilling tales of gods and monsters. They reflect profound truths about the human condition, the cycles of power, and the nature of the universe. Order versus chaos. Each war symbolizes the struggle between chaos and order. Uranus, Cronus, the Titans, and the giants represent older, primal forces, untamed, raw, and unstable. The Olympians embody a new order, structured yet still imperfect. Generational conflict. The cycle of fathers overthrown by sons reflects the inevitability of change. Power never remains with one generation. It is always challenged and redefined. The Greeks saw in these myths the pattern of life, politics, and even nature itself. The role of humanity. In the Gigantomachy, the gods needed the aid of Heracles, a mortal. This detail hints at the interconnectedness of divine and human destinies, suggesting that even the gods required humanity's participation to secure order. Nature and catastrophe. Many of the defeated monsters were buried beneath mountains or seas, their anger erupting as earthquakes, storms, or volcanoes. In this way, myths explained natural disasters as the remnants of ancient battles. Why these wars still matter. The Primordial Wars are not simply dusty tales from an old poem. They are archetypal dramas that continue to resonate today. We, too, face our titans and giants, forces of chaos, fear, and oppression. Like Zeus and his siblings, we must confront the past, wrestle with the forces that shaped us, and forge new orders from old struggles. These myths remind us that creation is never peaceful. It is born in fire, conflict, and transformation. The world as we know it, whether mythic or real, is the product of countless battles between destruction and renewal. Before Olympus rose, the cosmos was torn apart by war. Yet from that chaos emerged a new order, one that gave structure to the myths, beliefs, and imaginations of an entire civilization. The Primordial Wars are not only stories of gods and monsters, they are stories of us, our fears, our hopes, and our eternal struggle to bring meaning from the void. The saga of the Primordial Wars, a cosmic epic. The myths of ancient Greece are often remembered for the exploits of Zeus, Athena, Apollo, and the other Olympians who shaped the familiar pantheon. Yet the story of these gods begins long before their rise to power. Beneath the surface of the orderly Olympus lies a turbulent saga, a series of cosmic conflicts that define the universe itself. The Primordial Wars unfold like a grand epic, beginning with the formless abyss of chaos and culminating in Zeus's thunderous victory over Typhon, the last monster of the ancient age. Each chapter in this tale reveals not only the struggles of gods and monsters, but also profound insights about fate, power, and the fragile balance between order and chaos. From chaos to creation, the beginning of everything, according to Hesiod's Theogony, was not light or beauty, but chaos. In Greek thought, chaos was not mere emptiness. It was a gaping void, a chasm without boundary, a state of pure potential. From this endless expanse arose the first primordial beings. Gaia, Earth, the solid foundation of all existence. Tartarus, the deep abyss beneath the earth. Eros, love/desire, the binding force that draws beings together. Nyx, night, and Erebus, darkness, embodiments of shadow. The cosmos was alive but unstable. Gaia, embodying fertile earth, soon birthed Uranus, sky, her counterpart. Their union brought forth the Titans, the Cyclopes, and the Centaurs, vast beings of unimaginable power. But the harmony of sky and earth was broken almost immediately. Uranus, fearing his children, imprisoned the monstrous Cyclopes and Centaurs within Gaia herself. The earth groaned under their weight, and Gaia's anguish gave birth to the first great war. The fall of Uranus. Gaia fashioned a sickle of adamant and called upon her children to strike their tyrannical father. Only Cronus, the youngest Titan, was brave enough to answer. When Uranus descended to lay with Gaia, Cronus ambushed him, castrating him and casting his severed genitals into the sea. From the blood of Uranus sprang the Furies, the giants, and the Milii, astry nymphs. From the foam of the sea, where his flesh fell, arose Aphrodite, goddess of love and desire. With Uranus dethroned, Cronus became ruler. But the act was more than a change of leadership. It was the first cycle of succession, a theme that would define the Primordial Wars. Uranus, before his fall, cursed Cronus. Just as he had overthrown his father, so too would he be overthrown by his own child. This curse set the stage for the next great conflict, the reign of Cronus and the birth of fear. Under Cronus, the world entered what the poets later called the Golden Age, a time of peace and plenty. Yet this reign was built on fear. Cronus, haunted by his father's curse, sought to prevent his downfall by swallowing each of his children at birth. One by one, the newborn Olympians, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, were devoured. Only the sixth child, Zeus, was saved when his mother Rhea tricked Cronus, giving him a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes instead. Hidden in a cave on Mount Ida in Crete, Zeus grew up in secret, nursed by the goat Amalthea and protected by the Curetes, who clashed their weapons to drown out his cries. Zeus became strong. When the time was right, he returned to confront his father. With the aid of Metis, goddess of wisdom, he forced Cronus to disgorge his swallowed children. United at last, the Olympians prepared for war. The Titanomachy, gods against Titans. The battle between the Olympians and the Titans is known as the Titanomachy, the second great war of succession. For 10 years, the earth shook with conflict as brother fought brother, and the cosmos itself trembled under their blows. The Titans, led by Cronus, fought fiercely. Yet Zeus gained an advantage by freeing the Cyclopes and Centimanes from their prison in Tartarus. In gratitude, the Cyclopes forged divine weapons: the thunderbolt for Zeus, the trident for Poseidon, the helm of invisibility for Hades. The Centimanes, with their 100 arms, hurled rocks in storms against the Titans. With this overwhelming power, the Olympians triumphed. The defeated Titans were cast into Tartarus, chained in darkness under the watch of the 100-handed giants. Only a few, such as Oceanus, escaped punishment, for they had abstained from the war. With victory secured, Zeus and his siblings divided the cosmos. Zeus claimed the sky, Poseidon the sea, and Hades the underworld, while the earth remained common ground. Olympus rose as the new seat of divine order. But the cycle of conflict was not yet complete. The Gigantomachy, the giants' revolt. Gaia, furious at the fate of her Titan children, gave birth to another race, the giants. Born from Uranus's blood spilled upon the earth, these colossal beings were stronger, wilder, and more ferocious than the Titans. Led by Alcyoneus and Porphyrion, the giants waged war against the Olympians in the Gigantomachy. Their assault shook heaven and earth. Some myths tell of mountains hurled into the sky, piled one upon another, as the giants tried to storm Olympus itself. Yet prophecy foretold that the gods could not win without the aid of a mortal. Thus Zeus called upon his son Heracles, Hercules. With his bow and arrows, Heracles fought alongside the gods. Athena struck down Enceladus, burying him beneath Sicily. Dionysus, Artemis, and Apollo each took their share of foes. Finally, Heracles delivered the killing blows to the strongest giants. The Olympians emerged victorious, but the victory carried a message. Divine order could not endure without mortal participation. Humanity was now bound to the fate of the gods. Typhon, the final challenge. Even after the fall of the Titans and the defeat of the giants, one last and greatest threat emerged. From the union of Gaia and Tartarus came Typhon, the deadliest monster in Greek myth. Typhon was a nightmare given form, a colossal being with 100 serpentine heads, each spewing fire, each speaking in a different voice of gods and beasts. His wings blotted out the sky, his hands stretched east and west, and his body towered above mountains. When Typhon attacked Olympus, the gods fled in terror, disguising themselves as animals in Egypt. Only Zeus faced him. Their battle was cataclysmic. Zeus hurled thunderbolts, but Typhon overwhelmed him, seizing him and tearing out the sinews of his body. Crippled, Zeus was cast down. Yet hope remained. Hermes and Pan recovered Zeus's stolen sinews and restored his strength. Renewed, Zeus unleashed the full fury of his lightning and buried Typhon beneath Mount Etna, where his rage still burns as volcanic fire. With Typhon's defeat, the age of the Primordial Wars ended. Olympus stood unchallenged. Themes of the Primordial Wars. The saga of the Primordial Wars is more than mythic spectacle. It encodes deep truths about the universe, the human condition, and the cycles of history. One order in chaos. Each conflict represents the ongoing tension between chaos and order. Uranus, Cronus, the Titans, the Giants, and Typhon all symbolize older, wilder powers resisting structure. The Olympians embody a fragile but enduring order, cosmic, political, and moral. 2. Cycles of succession. The overthrow of Uranus by Cronus and Cronus by Zeus reveals an unbroken cycle. Power is never absolute. Each generation replaces the one before, echoing the human experience of inheritance, revolution, and change. Even the gods are vulnerable to fate and time. 3. The role of humanity. The Gigantomachy highlights a profound truth. The divine order cannot stand without humanity. Mortals, symbolized by Heracles, are necessary partners in maintaining balance. This intertwining of mortal and immortal destinies is a unique feature of Greek myth. 4. Nature and catastrophe. Volcanoes, earthquakes, and storms were explained as the remnants of these ancient wars. Giants buried under mountains became the source of eruptions. Typhon's wrath fueled Etna's fire. In myth, the natural world was animated by divine conflict. The cosmic epic. The saga of the Primordial Wars unfolds like a vast epic poem. Chaos divides and gives birth to Gaia and Uranus. Uranus is overthrown by Cronus, whose reign is tainted by fear. Cronus falls to Zeus in the Titanomachy. The giants rise, but are struck down with mortal aid. Typhon challenges Olympus in a final storm of fire, only to be buried beneath the earth. Each chapter is not just a tale of victory, but a reflection of a cosmos forever in flux. Even gods, immortal though they are, exist within the currents of destiny. None can escape time. All are bound to the cycles of power and decline. Why these myths still matter? Why do these ancient stories still captivate us? Because they mirror our struggles. Every society, every individual faces its own Titanomachy. The battle against overwhelming forces, the fear of being overthrown, the challenge of building order out of chaos. The Greeks saw in their myths not only entertainment, but also wisdom. The wars of gods and monsters were allegories for political revolution, natural disaster, generational conflict, and the eternal quest for balance. They remind us that creation itself is forged in conflict, and that even the most powerful must eventually yield to time. The saga of the Primordial Wars is a cosmic epic of beginnings, battles, and transformations. From the yawning void of chaos to the fiery battle with Typhon, the universe of the Greeks was never static, but alive with struggle. Each conflict brought a new order, each order was threatened, and each fall made way for renewal. In the end, the rise of Olympus was not the conclusion of a story, but one chapter in the eternal cycle of order and chaos. Even the gods were not immune to fate. For the Greeks, this truth was profound. Nothing, not even divinity, escapes the law of time. The Primordial Wars remind us that out of chaos comes creation, out of conflict comes transformation, and out of the endless cycle of destruction and renewal comes life itself. Those of humanity's search for meaning in chaos, order, and destiny. From the Titans' fall to the Olympians' rise, these stories remind us that even gods were shaped by struggle. The Primordial Wars laid the foundation for the legends we know today, but also hint at deeper truths hidden in ancient memory. If this journey into the dawn of creation inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more forgotten myths brought to life. Until next time, remember, the gods themselves were born of war.